Hello, my name is Carolyn Bellinger, and this month is April, and April is Autism Awareness Month. So I am here to talk about autism, and there is so much to cover with autism. I had a hard time trying to decide what we could talk about, but I thought, social skills is something that affects every kid with autism. So we're just going to go over a few strategies to increase social skills for children with autism. There's just a few that I thought I'd share with you today. I guess the first question is, why do we teach social skills? Social skills determine whether we're accepted, we fit in. Social skills develop as soon as you are born. The eye contact, the gazing, it's something that's within everybody, and everybody has the ability to be social. Some people just need more guidance in how to be social. Everybody wants friends, everybody wants to be around people, and sometimes people just need help to learn how to act appropriately around other people and interact appropriately. When you think about a social interaction, you have to take in body language, eye contact, language, tone of voice. There's so much unwritten, there's more than just what you're hearing. And then you have to take all that in, the body language, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, make a decision, and then you have to act. It's a lot tougher than you think, and even people with very appropriate social skills sometimes struggle at reading body language and emotions and separating the relevant from the irrelevant information. So one strategy that a lot of people seem to go to is inclusion. When we talk about inclusion, we talk about the process of educating students with disabilities along with students who do not have a disability. The Learning Center would not be an example of an inclusion place. Inclusion can be very successful, but it also relies on the willingness of the general ed teacher to include that student and make it a point that that student is part of the class. It is not for every student. If you may have a student who is deaf and blind, and learning how to maybe navigate a bus or navigate a job site. Is trigonometry and chemistry really the place for that student? And and that's a call that student's family has to make. But the effectiveness of inclusion, again, will depend on the general educator's willingness to collaborate with the special ed teacher and with the family and go beyond that normal scope. And proximity alone in inclusion is not going to guarantee social interaction. If you just put a student with a disability alongside a student without a disability, that's not going to necessarily mean that there's going to be a social interaction there. It needs to be directly taught. One thing that we do a lot in our early childhood classroom is play groups, and we use play as the learning time, as the work time. You gain many skills through play early on, not only math and reading and colors and shapes, but also social emotional skills, motor skills, language, cognitive. Typically you'll see kids with ASD playing alone, maybe with their trains, running their trains back and forth, or putting together a puzzle on their own, looking through a book on their own. They'll watch their peers, they'll see what their peers are doing, but they rarely will approach their peers. When you make a play group, you pick a novice player, someone who's not as efficient in their play, a student with ASD, and you pick an expert player, someone who does really good pretend play, someone who can feed the baby doll and cook a meal at the kitchen, and have those really good pretend play skills. And you work with the kids and you scaffold the play it says here the educator carries out Vygotsky's idea of guided participation. Guided participation meaning the children take the active role, the adult is there to help with the problem solving capabilities, and they're just kind of a complement to the playing. They're there to support, assist. They offer verbal and nonverbal guidance. They might offer, an example of playing, rolling the ball back and forth, feeding the baby, racing the cars, things like that. One thing that is taught in playgroups is the reciprocity, that interacting and predicting play behaviors of other children. A lot of times kids with ASD are hesitant to play with new kids or new items, so really having that partnership between the expert players and the novice players is really what is going to build that understanding of reciprocity and interaction. There's really nice benefits to both the novice players and the expert players. The expert players, they learn things such as empathy and understanding and acceptance. They learn patience because you might have to repeat a game a few times before the novice player understands the turn taking. Obviously, both players benefit from forming friendships, increasing their self-esteem. The novice player gets a higher quality of play, increased frequency and sustainability of their social interactions. It's a win-win on both sides, really. Circle of Friends is just something I wanted to touch on. It's a really neat thing. It's for older students who are, looking toward their future, their transition plan, things like that. And it's a group of people that form a support around a person with a disability. And it begins with something called person-centered planning, and they make like a action plan for the student. And the parents and teachers, they first get together and they identify people who are important in that person's life. And they all meet together and they talk about the student's hopes and the student's dreams, and the student shares what they would like to see, where they would like to see their future go. And then they get together and they make the student circle. And so this might be what a circle of friends looks like before the actual circle of friends takes place. So as you can see, there's more people right now paid to be in Joe's life, such as a special ed teacher, the doctor. They're in that outside circle. There's more people paid to be in his life than friends. So you've got the outside circle of paid people, then the next circle going in, you see members of his church. Those are like organizations that the student might belong to. Then the next circle is, he's got two friends. He's got a friend from camp and a friend from school, and then the innermost circle is his family. So the way to start a circle of friends group is you identify students who are interested in that student, show an interest, and they get together and they might make their own circles, and they'll list kind of the same thing here, and then they'll share their circles, and then the student might share his circle, and they'll say, how can we fill this circle up? How can we make this student circle as full as your circle? And then there's some brainstorming and some discussion that goes on, and usually when students see like, oh wow, this kid's circle is not very full, like that's not happy. That's not, no one likes an empty circle. Let's fill it up. So then they start their meetings. They meet monthly at least. They might meet after school. They share successes and challenges. They do an activity like a game, and that's used as a learning time for that student with autism to learn about taking turns and learn about social interactions. The rest of the month is spent, those students who are identified as in his circle will do things like have lunch with him, walk with him in the hallway, sit with him at a basketball game, things like be a friend, basically. Help him with homework or help him get from class to class, just things that anyone would do if they were a friend. So then at the end of the circles, circles of friends can last for a few years. They can last for all of their school career. They can last for 12 years. But now you can see that Joe's circle is way more full. He's got his friends, Brad, Rachel, Molly, Jake, Carolyn, Greg, Tommy, Sarah, Trent. And within that circle, Trent was on the track team and he thought, well, geez, Joe runs really fast. Let's have Joe join the track team. So Joe went with Trent to the track team. Molly was on student council and she thought, well, Joe is really interested in things that go on at school. Let's have him join student council with me. So now Joe has a student council group that he belongs to. Carolyn was in youth group at Joe's church and she invited him to youth group on Sunday nights. So now he's got those friends too. Greg is an Eagle Scout and he thought, my Boy Scout, this would be great for the Boy Scouts, for him to come to the Boy Scouts. So let's bring him to Boy Scouts. So these friends are doing more than just, him at school. They're investing and they're taking him, and inviting him to be a part of their other outside organization groups. And that's really what it's all about. I have a personal story about Circle of Friends. The young man I worked with at Central Michigan University had a circle of friends when he was up until he was in 6th grade. And then when he was in 6th grade, he went to a center-based program. And his circle of friends kind of dissipated as they grew up and got busier. But one of the girls from his circle of friends always, was very interested in Jacob and would check on him and, email with his mom or ask his brother at school how things were going. And now that she is a CMU student, she works with Jacob and she goes to Jacob's house every week and takes him on outings and helps him around the house. And so that circle of friendship, for her lasted for 15 years, and when it was done, it wasn't just done for her, and now she's investing further in that. And when she goes over to Jacob's house, she's more than a respite caregiver. She's a friend that takes him places and does things that he enjoys and they can enjoy together. So that's really nice. The last thing I wanted to touch on was social stories. You can ask any of the speech pathologists at the ISD, any of the special ed teachers, if you think your child would benefit from a social story. It's just a personalized story designed to help kids with autism or any other kind of disability to understand specific social situations. This is an example of a social story. The student hangs on his teacher, so I'll let you guys read it, but it's just about, when it's appropriate to hug my teacher, things like that. And it states kind of like the things that you can do, as opposed to, a lot of times as teachers and parents we're always saying, don't do that, don't do that. This kind of states it as like, this is when it's okay to do this. And a lot of times they'll come with pictures and things like that too. So in conclusion, these were just a few of the many strategies available. Again, not all strategies are going to be appropriate for all students. You need to take into consideration their cognitive and developmental levels, their reasoning abilities, communication abilities, everything like that. There's tons and tons of strategies out there. If you ever have questions, please feel free to give me a call at the Learning Center. My number there is 789-9476. My extension is 13. My email address is on here. I'm here to help. I have a passion for these kids and for all kids, and I want to see everyone be successful and happy. So thank you for your time, and I hope that this was helpful for you. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.